jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Alrighty, welcome back. We're continuing our plunge. John and I. We're just setting up shop and just getting ready to plunge back into all these spy shows. And here is the newest roster to the assassin genre is none other than all 7 seasons and the telefilm of Burn Notice. Alrighty, John, what was your foray into this complicated mayhem?
Well, for me, both my dad and my brother watched the first season when it first came out, and
Nice.
I didn't get into it until right after that aired and before season 2 came on. And so I was able to watch the reruns, season 1 before season 2 premiered, and I became such a huge fan that I was like, I gotta watch this show every time. And
Just
sure enough, I did until the end.
very unusual fugitive on the run who's used to be a spy. And I'm really just at a mixed bag. Like, it was always a running gag on SNL and just with the ads, how everyone would be like, "Hi, what is it even about?" I'm like, you remember that recurring SNL skit, "What is Burn Notice?" I'm like,
Oh
"What?
yeah,
What?
what is Burn Notice?
I think it means just what it
Right.
means.
Exactly. Not that hard to figure out.
I mean, unless everything's hard to figure out, I guess. But
I guess so.
so yeah, long story short, former CIA agent Uncle Weston is burned. He is on the run from the CIA and a wanted man. He enlists his IRA and weapons dealer and unofficial bounty huntress Fiona. He has another ally who's a intentionally crappy FBI informant named Sam Axe. He has his overbearing mother Maddie, played by Sharon Glass from Cagney and Lacey, and then he's got Jesse, another spy who he unintentionally burned, played by Cody Bell from Third Watch. So, yeah, this is my intro to basically all these actors. I would always recognize Jeffrey Donovan, the main lead. I recognized Gabrielle Anwar in a bunch of movies before she was well known. Like, she started in a bunch of films with her boyfriend at the time, Craig Schaefer, and was in Disney's The Three Musketeers and Scent of a Woman. And yeah, Bruce Campbell has pretty much popularized him more. I already knew about Evil Dead and seen parts of Army of Darkness nonstop on TV, but this was interesting seeing him take it up to the next level. It wasn't just people and 80 laid-back hippie parents showing their kids, all his other wacky movies and shows and VHS recordings of Briscoe County. Definitely seen him in part of some of his other Raimi shows, like Jack of All Trades, and it was either Xena or Hercules, one of those two.
I believe Xena he was on.
So there you go. Yeah, he'd come a long way, and my uncle was a big fan of, Ash, and it's just so funny how he never really took kindly to this show, even though he loved stuff like James Bond and other buddy shows. So yeah, you had your intro. Your family was into it. My family would just probably only see clips of it because it was often airing after Monk or Psych. And it's like, interesting.
Oh, it was. It was one of those spy shows that managed to be creative with not only with their ideas, which, at least in my opinion, it didn't feel too forced or too cliche like some of those shows would be at the time. And Weston was a character who you managed to, I'd say, sympathize with throughout when it progresses throughout the seasons. And once you learn more about him, and it's one of those shows that I always say knows what it is, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has a sense of humor about itself, and they showcase that with the characters, like with Fiona, who, as I always say, is just crazy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They even say that at certain times, particularly
Totally.
with Sam Max. But they always have the little banter almost every episode. It's almost like
Yeah,
a love-hate relationship, but it's
it's like they want to be Michael's BFF.
basically, yeah, that's the right word to use.
It was
And
a surprisingly pretty easy to watch show. It ranged from like TV PG to 14, but it was never, you could have it on without worrying about, it's a little too advanced for, even 10-year-olds or other family members. It's pretty straightforward.
yeah, and it's
When there's any blood, it's pretty limited. It's like red dots.
there's not gratuitous blood. That's what I say. Which
Sometimes
I
it's a
mean,
little digital filmmaking that doesn't always match up or slow motion, but that's also not overdone
true.
either. It's never.
I mean, it is a Rush TV production, so I can forgive that for the most part. And if I said before, like, if I can have fun with a show, I won't complain. But if it's boring, then I'm gonna notice all those mistakes immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
with
kind
this,
of. It never gets too campy for its own good either. It's just like, yeah,
no, it doesn't.
It's an 18 kind of show, and yeah, I can either have fun with it or not. But I mean, you already kind of. It made sense that it was a summer show, let alone that it was.
Especially
Kind
if
of,
it takes place in Miami. That makes sense,
yeah, I looked at Wikipedia. They actually filmed it there, so.
They did.
It is kind of funny how they kind of make fun of how he dresses up like, Horatio Kane on CSI Miami, but then they just
Yeah.
go a step further and just kind of will have him doing just kind of mock training, and so many times he'll basically have to intentionally lose a fight so that the bad guy can take the bait, like something he's going to give them that's not the real thing, and get arrested so he can make an escape, with whatever they're trying to steal. And so that's kind of the whole scenario. Is like he helps out other people in need so he can make some money, and and it takes a while, and it's not really
Eventually leads to him finding out who burned him and
yeah.
who's involved with that. And you find out who it is, it's very interesting. And you get all these colorful characters, particularly a lot of villains that we meet later on, who are some of my favorites in the series. Particularly with Simon, as I always mention.
Yes.
As
Simon
the
says.
one who was not only his biggest fan, but just showcases how absolutely insane he is when you
Yeah.
first introduce him.
Dillahun's definitely an extremely underrated actor, and I would have never thought he would be one of the guys in charge.
But he makes it worth almost every penny he's on screen.
He always had a good level of charisma, and he could just kind of just reel you in when you just didn't know what he was going to say.
And that was the fun of it with his character, that you never knew. He was never predictable. That's what I like to say with his villain.
Never. Haven't seen him in Army of the Dead, Looper, The Terminator Show, No Country for Old Men, and just plenty of other recurring gigs, Deadwood, and he just would always just kind of, whenever you see him on screen, you just know you're in for a treat. It's like, okay, he's gonna either be a sociopath or just some other just wacky, just invitation to just see how evil and corrupted he can be.
But not only was it with him, but also with the characters of Vong and even Anson that shows up later on,
Yes. Yeah.
which I still remember, particularly one certain episode at the very end. I believe it was season 6. Might be wrong there.
Hmm.
What happens to a certain character? I'm not gonna spoil if anybody hasn't seen it.
Well, it's so funny how he had already originally played another Russian crime lord.
I didn't know that.
Remember he played Roman?
Oh, that's true.
So,
Forgot.
like the only time in this entire franchise, other than just the extras they had on here, just really just recasted someone. Already been on the show. So I'll name some of the various people on here. In my review, I had John C. McGinley from Scrubs, key villain later on. Kelly Thorne as a weird from Homicide as a weird thief.
You got Michael Rooker and Danny Pino.
Eric Roberts is there. Clarence Williams the third. Richard Kind is a recurring baddie. Danny Pino from Cold Case and SVU.
Burt Reynolds.
Bunch of different Terminator bad guys. Christina Logan and Robert Patrick.
And speaking of Xena, Lucy Lawless is on
And
early season.
Battlestar co-star Tricia Helfer is the main villain for the first few seasons, and Tyne Daly is there as like a bank receptionist. She's like in a similar scene with her Kenny and Lacey co-star.
She also got Danny Trejo show up.
Trejo showed up. Andrew DeVoff was like a mob affiliate who owned
Russian
like a
mob.
bank. Yeah.
I got the Russian part right.
Right, for once. Al Sapienza for The Sopranos, I really dug as the FBI agent.
Oh yeah.
When Michael goes dark in season 3, and he's like, "You give me that. He is going down." Jared Burns from Justified was a very unusual choice. You know him as the bearded guy.
Yeah.
Robert Wisdom is another unlikely ally. Most might know him as Bunny on The Wire. John Peter Ferguson was on here. You might know him from Unforgiven. This was before he was on Last Ship. Michael Shanks was an interesting recurring villain to not be trusted. And then, last but not least, probably Sanj Assange is the crooked federal agent.
Well, I also got to point out Tim Matheson as well is
Yes.
That was a very interesting character who was part of Michael's past and is somebody who seemingly never die. It seemed like every time he showed up.
And he kept showing up in like later seasons, I think, and then it was just like I thought we were past that part of the storyline, but okay. But it was never an annoying subplot, and it was always kind of played up as, oh, here we go again.
They managed to fit it into the story, which I appreciated. It didn't feel out of left field or.
I can even see why he directed a bunch of episodes.
Oh yeah, he clearly loved working on it. You can tell.
Right.
He really having fun with the role.
Yeah, the Peter Weller device, or Mario Van Peebles habit of whatever show he's being a recurring director on, he's going to appear in a few episodes.
I was interested to talk about directors because they did have some pretty known directors, like Ernest Dickerson directed some episodes, even Rennie Harlan.
Correct.
Directed 2 of them.
Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger fame. They had Tony Almeida himself from 24. They had Carlos Bernard here as a And he was kind of the most unusual criminal they kind of got close to, and Fiona legit wanted to save him, and then he like just keeps betraying him and won't listen to him.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Yep. Max Martini from Pacific Rim and the unit shows up, and you knew he was a villain from the get-go, but it's kind of fun to see if they can actually coax him. And he's, of course, an unusual character for the actor to play, because this time he's just playing a meathead who's not really all that bright. And it's like, do what I say.
We also got ones like Oh Dear Fayal, shows up in season 2 at one point, along with Method Man of all people.
Yeah,
Like,
Method Man. They didn't have as many rappers or wrestlers as I thought they would have, but yeah, they had them. They had Dean Cain in the same episode as the Eric Roberts one. That was funny.
we had the Big Show show up at one
Oh,
point.
yeah, okay. Yes.
I remember that one.
He was talking so much smack.
I didn't mind.
Well, no, that's totally what the role had to be. But yeah, I was even surprised. It's like who wasn't going to appear on this show, and it was a good starting credit for anyone. In all honesty, creator Matt Nix uses a lot of, as close as I think he got to this afterwards was definitely with The Good Guys, and I to this day still miss that show. I should have done a crossover. He used some of the same actors who played the agents on that one as criminal informants.
Okay.
But and if you can find a DVD of it somewhere, go for it. But and then when I saw him he just kind of varied throughout later on. I saw him do that Gifted, that X-Men spinoff, which I did not care for. But then he did APB, which was kind of the same kind of format where it's like people are using drones in the future and solving crimes, and it just wasn't enough. Like there just was, it took itself way too seriously. And it was like,
That's a shame, they are.
yeah, it was like, it was too predictable, and it had a fun cast, including Ernie Hudson as the captain, and I was like, yeah, well, he can play that role in his sleep. He's only done it a dozen other times.
That's very true.
I'm surprised he wasn't here on this show. Yeah, no, they pretty much got it all figured out with who was going to guest star and do wacky stuff, and this was around the time social media was taking off, so they did pretty good at just promoting it, and nothing was ever safe. You never knew if someone was going to. So basically, it's like Grand Theft Auto. Keep your heat meter down. But no one ever.
It was never predictable, like who would survive, who would die.
Right.
Like some instances actually came very close to some of the characters dying, which I appreciate, because at least there were stakes involved.
Right.
Fun.
We'll get to the possible fatalities and what ifs, but
yeah.
I know Michael shot a guy in season 1, and the guy limped away, but
yeah, that did happen.
I guess we can say it's unconfirmed. But whatever. If the guy died, it probably wasn't from that stray bullet. So yeah, it definitely uses MacGyver A-Team logic, where characters are likable enough where they're nutty, but never to a point where it's like, okay, this guy's going to do some serious damage and kind of be a dick along the way. And it's never even like the Equalizer, where he's a vigilante with a set of rules. It's not grim or gritty. It's occasionally serious, but it's still just kind of the right kind of escapism.
They found the right kind of balance between the humor and the drama,
and this was kind of, well, it was pretty much the forefront. USA Network was like, we got to relabel ourselves. We got to do. Well, we're always going to have silly, laid back, fun shows, but like this is a big deal. So
that's what they did that time. Not only with this, but also Psych, and even ones like White Collar, where they balanced that as well.
So I don't know if that's even the deal nowadays, but I mean, I used to like seeing a lot of their fun ads, especially when they would play certain movie marathons and they would make custom ads for those alone.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. They completely changed their format there.
I would love to know who did the voiceover ads for those, because they sounded very similar to Jeffrey Donovan.
I know. I'll have to find
So
out that was too.
I would wiggle my head for a minute. I'm like, did I hear that voice correct? Is that the same dude? No, it's a little off, but it's similar deep voice. Yet, I will say the show has a good level of sarcasm to it. It's never, no one's going out of their way to be an asshole, but at the same time, they are very nutty, and I think it's a rarity because shows like this usually like to let the humor just get way too out of control.
Well, like I said before, I mean, that's the balance. That's what I appreciated.
All they
That
balance.
it was.
You
It
weren't
didn't
gonna
feel too
see.
forced. It felt actually genuine between the characters.
It could have been way more naughty, but it didn't even want to go there.
Oh yeah,
No, I think we're doing enough mayhem as it is. Just keeping track of everybody, giving them a purpose.
and it had like the right kind of sarcasm. That's what I always appreciate with this.
Humor goes a
Particularly
long
with
way.
Sam Max,
Yes.
he always loves doing that every time whenever they're doing a job or
Especially when they do a heist and somehow no one ever dies.
no, they just got that lucky right there.
Let's go to the season 4 prequel movie, The Rise of Sam Max.
Ah yes, the one that Jeffrey Dahmer directed himself.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he did a good hell of a job. And there's a young Pedro Pascal. That's right, guys.
I actually forgot that.
He plays one of
So-
the right hands of the dictator who are part of the kill squad. At one point, Bruce Campbell does a throwback to his Evil Dead character Ash Williams by throwing a chainsaw out of nowhere. But it's a fun, Three Amigos Salmon Samurai parody. Sam Max has to go all commando and defend a village. It's just like
That's all you
Schwarzenegger,
need.
but he
Okay.
acts like Campbell. Yeah.
Take a simple premise and they manage to make it work. That's
Oh,
what-
totally. And yeah, I think altogether it was just fun. It's like, wasn't Tim Matheson even the guy who recruited him at the beginning? I think
was he?
I
It's
could,
been a while. It's been a while since I've seen it, but
you can find it on Hulu for those who want to see it. And I'll go into that even. I think Hulu has been really good, since it's co-owned by Universal and Fox. It's like, yeah, take all your fun shows that never get old for a lot of us and just have these on here. It's like, so anyone who wants to watch these shows, you can watch them. This is one of them. It's interesting how it's kind of very digital because, you could tell when they started out, they were still filming on regular, and it's like, and it got digital clearly along the way. So,
oh yeah,
where the theme looks very staticky and you're seeing some speckles. I'm like, uh-oh. It's the minor thing.
particularly in the pilot, you could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
but I'm like, I'll let that go. I'm not gonna complain.
I don't know why I thought it started in 05. Fuck was I thinking? I thought it started in 07. But it did start in 07, but I thought it started in 05. So
Well, Donovan was in Hitch, so that's probably what you're thinking.
I guess so. I could have sworn it was on around 05. I was mistaken. I don't see any cable TV really replay this anymore, which is weird.
I think some do. I forget what channel it was though, but I know every now and then you see one of those channels, play certain seasons, not all of them.
Mm-hmm. Same year as Chuck, and a few years later we had Human Target, so it was really cool to see kind of a spy comedy just becoming a thing again.
And that's what I enjoy about this is if you like your spy movies or spy shows, this combines those. And
Yep, this is an even goofier James Bond. Yep.
I was gonna say because honestly, I could see Jeffrey Dahmer as James Bond. To be fair, like, he almost acts like him. At certain
Probably.
times.
It just would have to adapt an accent, but yeah.
Well, I know.
I could even see him be a James Bond villain. Yeah.
True.
Betrayed me, James.
I mean, he could do accents. He proved it on the show, so
That's true. He did.
I'm sure he could do it.
What was the episode where he had a mustache or some shit?
Oh,
He was being like a foreign investment banker or something.
I think so. I'm forgetting which episode that was. I just remember he had like the Irish accents, which I didn't think it was too
Right.
bad. I played a lot worse than that. So
Right.
I mean,
He just hung around Fiona, and that's all he had to do.
oh yeah, and that's how they met in Ireland. So
And it's funny. He's all the narration helps reinforce the comedy without being too cute for its own good. He does a good job.
oh
They do
yeah,
a good job of even just like, yeah, and this is where we screwed up. This is how we got locked in the criminal's dungeon. How we got
but
to
it fits
escape.
within the episode. It's not. It doesn't feel out of place because they have it in each episode. So
Hmm.
it's like I said, it's not entirely out of place like some shows would be. Like just have a narration out of nowhere. Like where did this come from? Never had before. Oh, we'll just do that. No, this was more consistent with that.
Totally
That's
more
why.
consistent.
That's why I think it lasted all those years when it was on for 7 years.
7 years is a
And
good run, and that's where most shows should just stop.
yes, I agree there.
Unfortunately, most don't.
No, some like to go for 12 or 13 for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, I get that there's some shows that are just gonna keep going on and on and on, but then there are other ones where it's like, yeah, you lost me, and that year was so bad, and so I'm not tempted to continue, even though people are telling me it's better. Yeah, this
Yeah,
didn't have this
same
issue.
way.
Each season's pretty short, like 10 to 13. It's like there's only like one that was like 20 episodes, I think. It was like season 5.
Yeah, around season 5, I had that. But even then, it didn't feel too long.
They were
That's
just
what I also appreciated.
cramming them in there.
Well, the one guest star I forgot to mention, because I did think this was an interesting guest star they got. Even my dad pointed this out when it premiered. Was them getting Gavin Rossdale from Bush
Yes.
appearing in one episode.
He's the British bad guy. He's like taking a fancy to Fiona, and it's like, man, okay.
It's like giving her the information that she wants, but also making her going on a mission.
They did a really good job of promoting him.
Oh yeah,
It's like musician Gavin Rossdale guest stars.
he's actually probably being a pretty decent actor, I'd say,
I thought so
compared to
too.
other musicians.
Totally. And I think like Mick Jagger, he took acting for what it was. He's like, it's not my main thing, but it is what it is. It's a job. People like my voice, so I'm gonna,
Let's just
try.
have fun with it, and that's why I like him and Mick Jagger, Free Jack. But that's a different story. We'll talk about there.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that
He would have been fun to watch in the show, but you know,
I wonder what he would have played. Would he have just
I know.
been someone's crazy dad? I don't know.
I
They
wouldn't
do a
mind
good
it.
job of showing the titles and not breaking any. I don't want to sound like a snob, but they don't even do the screenwriting rules problems. It's like they don't give anything too much away, and yet they kind of keep it like a comic book strip. What you need to know, you know.
Oh yeah,
Just don't need to know, don't need to know.
and they still managed to showcase some impressive stunts, even within the confines of the TV show. So there is the fights, which yes, some of them can be short, but if it's well handled and well directed, I won't complain about that too much. Or the car
Some
chases.
the car chases are really good, especially the motorcycle stuff, and the show wisely just decided is like, hey, let's not do too much. Just do just the right amount.
Oh yeah, for each episode, just the right amount.
That's all you need to do. And like you say, I mean, some shows are just naturally do this overnight, and
This managed to build over time, whenever it was on. And
so
even
much.
when you get to Jesse, Cody Bell's character, who you do manage to at first he comes on, you're not sure how he is, but he manages to grow on you, when he goes along. And
Hmm. They gave him enough to do. He was pretty much. And Sam was basically keeping an eye on them and just tagging along with Fiona and being the watchman, and he was doing a lot of just he would set the stuff up and go, oh crap.
Yep. And he would help out when he can, or
And that's good, because any kind of show, campy, serious, I find, especially in mid-'80s or '90s, half the time we just make the mistake of just, you had way too many characters, and,
yeah.
or you're spending way too much time on this one character, and it's like, sorry, they just can't carry it by themselves.
No, they can't. That's the one problem with some shows. Was this at least had the right amount of people in the cast?
Gave
Yeah.
them enough to do, and you knew what they were, who was most likely to say was like, okay, so Weston is gonna have the oh shit look on his face, and Fiona's gonna say something nutty like, I'm so looking forward to this, and yeah, Sam is gonna do the whole.
Yep, she's the trigger happy one.
All right, and Sam is
Is
gonna
going to
be
blow
like,
anything up. That's what I say.
Sam is gonna provide the gadgets and say, hey, at least I didn't actually do the deed, and then yeah. And Jesse will probably just again also kind of be the secondary reaction, like, wait, this is not what I signed up for. Let's talk about what's her name, Lauren Stammel's CIA character.
Ah, yes. What was her name?
She had a hell of a name, but yeah, I'm a big fan of hers from Community, and she's guest starred in just about everything. But yeah, she played Agent Pierce.
Agent Pierce, yes.
You've probably seen her guest star on just about every fucking show.
It seemed that way, yeah.
Major Crime, Chicago Fire for about 5 episodes, NCIS, and all the various CSIs. Oh, well, there you go. One episode of The Good Guys. There you go. Seems like she was a cool indie actress, and yeah, she just came down, and it's like her only recurring role, and I thought she owned it.
Oh, she did. You bought her as this character. It didn't feel like someone trying too hard, as I say, or
I've even seen.
Didn't even write her as like a bimbo. Which I also
No.
appreciated.
Oh, and
Do
I
that.
think she had a really cool. She must have had a really cool agent, especially when you look at her earlier Criminal Minds episode. She had just like a brief walk-on role as like a secretary at the FBI, and she was like, something's wrong, you know. It's like, so she had that kind of alertness, and I mean, her Community role was cool because she kind of created a whole love triangle for that show, and it was just like, but she did a lot of dry comedy there, so it was like I wasn't really surprised for her to be kind of just like, what do you think this leads to, Weston? It leads to the same damn thing.
Yep.
I have to catch you, and you can keep telling me you're the good guy and everything. I still got to bring you in. I'm going to be tracing this call. I really wish you wouldn't tell me this because I respect you, but I'm going to have to bring you in.
That's true.
It was fun. Oh, so let's talk about Fiona being turned into the feds.
Oh yeah, that was
Turns to be out of
certainly-
sham, and she's so mad at Weston wanted, she doesn't because she loves him, and he's like, nah, not doing that. Come back with us.
and that was certainly interesting. That little twist there.
What would have expected?
That's true.
One way to close out a season.
Or to help away close our season. That's what I say.
He wasn't done.
Like that's how you do a cliffhanger, folks.
Right?
Just to point that out. Oh, this knew how to do cliffhangers very well. At least it managed to conclude what they had, but they also was set up what would happen the next season.
Yeah, I still found, looking back at this, Robert Wisdom's character to be kind of a little annoying, but they make me even more amusing scenarios later on.
Oh yeah.
It's like he's always just like getting in the way of both the criminals that they're dealing with and the feds. It's kind of funny because both of them fear him, so it's even wackier how that all plays out. Who was your favorite guest star? If you had any others to choose.
My favorite guest star? Oof. Man, there'd be like so many to name. But I think I gotta go the Burt Reynolds one when I rewatched that.
Oh yeah.
That him as like an old CIA agent. Like,
Especially
like
when he
that.
wasn't doing much at that time and was known
Oh
for being
yeah.
so difficult, and it was just kind of cool to see some of the people they got in here. It's like, let's get someone who's famous, but not gonna be too much, you know.
It was just perfect casting for him. Like, he managed to handle the humor well, and you bought him as that character. It didn't feel like it was just playing Burt Reynolds just to be Burt Reynolds, like some people would do.
Yeah,
And
it must have been a real. We were saying the show shot pretty fast, and we could tell, so I'm sure that was kind of what it played into.
I think that's why he managed to work so well on here, because like I said, they shot so fast. I'm sure he was easy to deal with. I think that he was, because I know they
I'm sure they just
loved
promised it
working
up
with
front.
him.
It was like, you're doing TV at this point. We guarantee it's going to be a quick in and out.
I think they loved working with him. I think I've heard they said that in interviews afterwards how much fun it was working with him. You could tell.
Didn't Jeffrey Donovan say something about that? I think I did see that.
I think he did, yeah, at one point. And I mean, you got him. I could say, well, I say Michael Rooker, but it's just nice to see him in anything. That's why I say. Um,
Doing his
I'm just
Michael
like that.
Rookerus. Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna complain. Come on now. I also say Lucy Lawless when she shows up.
She was cool because it's like she's just playing this sniper, just going
Like,
around.
what you at first think is like this troubled woman
Didn't she kill
for her
Tricia
husband.
Helfer's character?
No, that was Fiona who did that.
Ah, that's right. Okay, shit. Yeah, she
Because
was.
Fiona was like so trigger happy trying to kill her, and then
Right. It was like, wow,
at
I
the
was
end,
just
at the
about to
season
get
season
info
2,
out.
she shoots her, and you see the smile on her face.
Right.
She was like,
Happy
"All
way
right,
to
got you,
take that
bitch."
bitch out. Yeah.
And I'm like, I knew it. I knew it was gonna happen, but you know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna complain. But
Totally.
now they have like a bunch of. Oh no, one guest star I should mention because I didn't know he was on here until we watched it. It was Michael B. Jordan showing up one episode.
Yeah.
I was
Michael,
surprised.
people forget Michael made so many just various movie appearances, and it is kind of fun. Well, and TV show appearances for that matter, and it was kind of wild to just see him kind of just show up and stuff like this, where it's like, yeah, he's going to be a client in danger, or he's just going to be just another wacky face in Miami.
And he was like, his sister was in danger at this point. And
Yeah,
his coach was Michael Irvin. I think that was his name, if I remember correctly, because that's who hires Sam to find who's stalking Michael B. Jordan, his sister, and that was
yeah.
certainly interesting to watch.
Well, that was good. You needed that. It's like we got to have some stuff we can relate to.
Oh yeah, they managed to do it well, especially when they go over to Marilyn's house and she treats them well. It's almost like they want to stay there; they don't want to leave, which I like because that fits. That's how you would feel if you feel welcome home, and
Yeah,
that's how some people would act. So it's nice to add a little bit of realism in it, to this otherwise wacky show. But it still managed to add those moments on here, which I do appreciate. Because some shows they don't really bother with that at all. Which is like, nope, just go on with the action, that's it. That's all we care about. And
yep.
I mean, it's the truth, folks. I'm not lying. Trust me, because I've seen some of those.
Yes. It seems like, well, and I hate to say this, but TNT was making so many shoddy shows around the same time where it's like you get so bummed. I
Yeah.
can't name the amount of times I would say, oh, yeah, that premiere looks pretty cool. And then you'd see him, you're like, well, I guess it's fun, but it's not going to go down as best show that you should see. I mean, Falling Skies was kind of that way. It's like, I like it, but it's not as epic as the trailers made it out to be. It's TV budget here, pals. It's a bunch of other cop shows that were just really lame. Shall we say, just the Shield knockoffs. It's just like, okay.
Oh yeah.
But I know you guys aren't going to go the full way, so we're just going to see guys say, "Get your ass down. I'm so tough." It's like, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes it'd be the other way around, where it's like, I'd like the show, but the dialogue they used in the trailers was just like, man, that's just cringe, or cheese. Just like, I could write shit for TV.
Wait, it was that easy? I might as well write it. Come on, guys.
Some of them I've been revisiting, and there's others it's like, yep, nope, hated it at the time, hate it now.
Oh, that could still happen with some. Trust me, they are. Oof. No, this, as I said before, this was one, and we mentioned with guest stars. I just remember another one. Speaking of, we'll talk about Protege before we start recording. Was Robert Patrick shows up on here at one point.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1000 himself. And
Yep. We talked
that
about
was-
third villains. Yep.
that was also a interesting choice for one of your villains.
Yeah, he lost 2 episodes, and it's fun to see him in that. I had seen that episode before. I revisited it in time for this, and it was just kind of fun to just see him. I mean, he's later on the similar show Scorpion years later,
Yeah,
which was
for
by
my
the
dad to the
creators.
shows now.
Totally, it was by the creators of Chuck, and it kind of made sense to me. It's like, yeah, well, on that he's the straight man FBI guy, and it's like here he's playing another guy who's been abusing his power as an agent, racketeer, and do other shit. And it's like, okay, cool. I think, yeah, Weston does actually cause him to die in that car crash. It's like one of the few times he breaks his rule, and it's pretty wacky.
Well, that time, well, I understand that, so I'm not gonna
Right.
fault him too much.
At least it was a shitty agent as opposed to, civilian died by accident.
Sometimes he had to break his rules or to, try and get what he wants, even if it costs certain people's lives. That's what,
Right.
even if he didn't want to. He even said that at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I keep saying, that's why I keep going back to this show every time. This is why I keep saying I wish there would be a movie they would make for this. I'd love
Yeah.
to see one.
Our boss at the Action Elite did ask Jeffrey Donovan in that exclusive interview, and he kept saying we and Bruce keep picking the studio's brains, and it just has not happened yet. I'm like, well, if
I'm like,
USA doesn't want to do it, Fox can do it.
somebody do it, please. I'm begging at this point.
I think
Come on,
many are.
guys.
Yeah. You would think.
I would love to see some of those characters back. Of course, we can't bring certain ones back, as we know, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But at least the main 4.
Well, and
Yeah.
it really shouldn't take 10 years when people
No.
go on to do other stuff.
But some of them just don't learn. That's why some of these films, based on TV shows, don't always work out.
And USA and Fox have been working together on a few different things. Like Universal will produce something for their network, and Fox will produce stuff for USA as well as NBC. And this definitely probably is one of the highlights because I worked on Queen of the South, and I can't just say it enough times. Just the show just had just the lamest writing, and you just can't expect anything when it's based on a telenovela.
Well, that's true.
This, I guess you could say, it was gonna work because they knew how to just kind of just subtract where the show goes wrong is when it just gets too silly for its own good.
Oh yeah, and we cast the right kind of actors for this, like Jeffrey Donovan, who is an actual martial artist in real life, which I didn't find out till years later.
It was funny seeing him in interviews saying they won't let me do my own stunts.
I think he tried, but of course, because of insurance and all. That's what the
They're gonna
excuse
reshoot
is.
it anyway just to cover it up. So we gave you the honor, but nah, guess what? Still can't do it.
Like, what's the point? Just saying.
Why do you suppose people were being assholes claiming he's the blandest actor alive? I still don't understand that critique at all.
I guess because they're like, well, he's not over the top. He's not trying like a cartoon. Like, yeah, but not
If he had,
everybody has to act that way, guys.
you guys would have complained if he had played it like Caruso, so for all we know, so there you go.
It's like he's not that kind of actor, guys. I hate to break it to you.
Straight faced guy with some simple theater and regular guest star acting roles, and that's what he played it as.
And unlike some of those guys, he at least has shown he has range, even not just raw action, but also the dramas, even the horror.
And it's been so great to see him on all these Rick Roman Wog crime dramas like Shot Caller, as well as the Sicario films, and
Also, like Let It Go and even Honesty for Liam Neeson.
yes,
Great to see him in that. And Wrath of Man, you can even say.
yeah, I haven't seen it twice now. I just don't remember anyone else in that movie aside from Statham pouting, but he does look pretty cool. Just seeing him with glasses on, it's like because you still see a bit of Weston in him.
Oh yeah, I think he's one of the standouts of that movie. Him and Statham and Scott Eastwood, to be fair. But
I do like Scott, but I don't remember him in that. But
well, I do, but
I remember Eddie Marson, but yeah, he's the. It's interesting how he kind of, I guess you could say, his surprises are what make him just stand out. And
oh yeah,
this is interesting how this was kind of one of the few USA shows that like everybody had seen, because I think they did play it syndicated briefly on some of the regular Fox channels, definitely Fox 4.
I think they did, yeah.
Fox More, 27, all that shit, because it was a Fox show. But that's as most as I saw of it, and I think the DVDs were pretty cheap to get, so you would eat
Oh,
them
they
up.
are, because I have. Well, I thought I had all of them, but I only have the first 5. I think it's in like the last 2, but
Oh.
I can do that someday.
Yeah, if my cousins had cable, they would totally watch this all plenty of times, like they did Ocean's 11 type movies.
And I'd be curious to see him in like an Ocean's 11 type of film, or even.
I think that's kind of why it appealed. Is like they just had it down to a T. Is like you're gonna, just like you say, you're gonna have a wacky heist, and it's all fun and games. Doesn't matter if the characters are technically an anti-hero or breaking the law. It's like it's still showing enough consequences, and you kind of feel for them because they're resorting to that because they got again betrayed by their own agencies.
Mm-hmm.
It would feel false otherwise if it was just all black and white.
Or they just go like the random cliches that we've already seen many times before with other spy shows, or even spy films. Even it's just he's just a downward
Glutton for
spy
punishment.
who is being chased by everybody, and that's about it. He has no character whatsoever.
He's gonna watch the woman he just had a late night stand with, an Avenger. All be good. Yeah, he doesn't really get into too many sexy love triangles. He mainly just kind of just
Oh yeah, that's one
whatever
thing I
happens,
like.
happens, and they kind of just keep it at him. And will they get together without getting too chick flickish?
Which I also appreciate.
Something for the women.
Sometimes that can be very corny,
Mm-hmm.
but they just do it the right amount. That's all I say. And that's why a lot of us still like watching this, because it at least manages to blend different genres, but do it very well. It doesn't feel. It actually feels cohesive, I like to say, compared to other shows.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of shows that were fun for a while, and then they got randomly dark. It was just like you didn't know if it was just bad timing or if it was always meant to be that way, and it just was rejected by the audience because it was just a rare bad idea.
Yeah, that's that can sometimes ruin some certain shows when you just drastically change the tone. Like, I don't know why you even bother doing that. Just alienate your audience for some reason. And sometimes that could be fine, but here they had a consistent tone throughout all 7 seasons, and that's why it lasted for that long. That's why everybody that has watched it loves it still to this day.
Totally. If they did a movie, what kind of plot do you think they would go with? Would
That's
they
what I was
just
trying to
have?
think.
Would they have like everyone from all over the globe, CIA targeting him, or would they go with something just more kind of maybe just him and Fiona in the Bahama Islands, where they kind of leave it and just and kind of just stumble upon trouble?
They could do that, or if it's like Jesse and Sam, like there's a certain job they take that they eventually need Michael Fiona's help with. That they have to travel back to Miami.
Didn't she say she had family? It'd be funny if they met some.
Well, no, we met the brother in one of the episodes.
Oh, that's right. Yes, she had like a criminal brother. He had like some other distant relative. There was some other shit. Yeah.
So I was like, well, you can
It
bring
was
them
really
over.
funny. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying you can bring them over. You can have some of the IRA guys trying to go after them still, but
If
in
they can
Miami.
bring John Cena from Psych, which was just a gag, and make it be a gag that transfers into the movies, they can do it here. And
Oh, they could do that, yeah.
maybe that would be the best idea at this rate. Just have it premiere on Peacock, Universal's network, or Hulu.
They can
Because
make that work.
that's my other problem too. They keep doing the whole with all these shows that they've wanted a movie for so long. It's like they missed their opportunity, but if they wanted to do it, they could technically do it over a cable TV platform. And I get that these used to have a bad reputation because it used to be if a show was coming back, you were just doing the billionth, reunion.
And that's true. That could feel.
I know you didn't watch The Pretender, but I knew other pals who watched it for a while, and they thought it was just Otis himself appeared on there. And Jeffrey Donovan, one of his first recurring roles, was playing the character's estranged brother who was trying to escape from a mental institution because he knew too many spy secrets. And so it was so funny seeing Michael T. Weiss guest star on here because it's like, yeah, that's clearly a call out to his earlier fame. And haven't seen that show all the way through. It's really, he was already Michael Weston before he was Weston on Burn Notice. But if anything, it would be cool to see him maybe even do just other comedies and stuff. Because, Shut Eye is basically his, falling down American Psycho kind of role. So he's already played so many different kinds of dangerous roles. I really would like to know what he can do next. He's had a few other psycho thrillers I haven't watched yet, but I want to because they're kind of like dead calm. But if anything, I think he'll just continually, just when he's not surprising us, I think he's definitely going to get some kind of Emmy or Golden Globe down the road, or someone's going to try and tell one of those award shows is like, keep an eye on this guy. He's dangerous. He's been dangerous. Was dangerous before anyone knew he was, and hopefully they take note.
Well, hopefully at this point, or as I said before, I'd be curious. I'd be curious at least. Like since he booked with Rick Rowan, now they're doing the next It Has Fallen movie. It'd be interesting if he could join that at one point. As like an ally or as a villain, it'd be interesting. Get him as that. That's what I would like to see at least at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And even him, maybe even work on with Millennium Films on something. I don't know. It'd just be interesting to watch.
Something.
But depends on the script, though. That's what I always say. Hopefully, it's a decent script and not a shoddy one at best. Like they can go for that sometimes, but not for him. Give him a good one, guys. But no, it'll be interesting to see what how his career will go forward at this point. Like I said, he's done all those genres. It'll be interesting to see what he might come out with next. And well, I was weird with Gabrielle Anwar. I'm not sure what she's been doing now. I haven't
Just
checked.
she was in a few other horror films like The Marsh, and she's had some other interesting guest appearances, even other movies where I'm like, wow, that was her. Oh, she looks so different there. Definitely very easy on the eyes, but I think she's just always kind of been like many of these British actors, just was like work is work, so she has no problem starring in any B movie.
That's true.
What else did she do? She did something way more recent. She was really good in things to do in Dimmer When You're Dead. Oh, that's right. She was Lady Tremaine on Once Upon a Time.
Oh, I did read that, but I didn't see that season, so I can't say.
She did a few other TV movies, indie films. I thought I Murders was good. Oh, I forgot. She's Princess Margaret and the Tudors. Crazy Eights was a twisted mystery, and yeah, she was in one of the Librarian movies for TNT. So there you go. But yeah, she's pretty much confined to TV, and I just always dig seeing her because I just never. She's also kind of dangerous.
Well, clearly, especially with her character in this show, but she's also shown she has quite a bit of range throughout the years, and
Totally.
I'd just be curious to see what
Don't let it-
she do next as well.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And Bruce is Bruce. You know,
Well, of
he
course.
pretty much will only do anything with Sam Raimi, and I can't blame him. I'd probably be annoyed by what offers I'm getting too. You cannot tell him, you know, he puts a price on everything, so do not try and get him to be in some, you know, low budget, shitty horror movie or action movie. You know, it's got to be someone like Sam Raimi or a friend of his like Robert Kirkman.
That's why I do think he's in Doctor Strange too. I have a feeling he is.
He totally is going to be in that.
I'll be surprised if he's not.
I think he did say something about it on Twitter, but you know,
Okay.
we don't know if it'll be a walk-on role or a big key role. But I mean, yeah, he's so deserving of it at this point. And for
I
this
think
to
so,
be
well.
the second stage of his career, and it was also a hit, you know, that would be just an insult because he didn't do anything in the Oz movie. You recognized him instantly, but he did nothing. Literally, he was basically a featured extra. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he makes plenty of great money just coming out with another outrageous, funny book or producing another show that he appears on or video game voiceover, like one of those Hellboy video games. So it's like, yeah, he totally has come to love his place as a B-movie actor and funny guy. So can't imagine.
Yeah, that's why we all love him. That's why whenever they have conventions throughout the world, they always want to go see him.
He's got another
Yeah.
Evil Dead movie coming out, which is good because I mean, the show, you know, Ash versus just left us with so much. So
Oh yeah. So I'd be curious what this new Evil Dead movie would be, at least.
Cody Bell, he's always got plenty of other recurring guest star roles. Unfortunately, right now he's just wasting his time as like the head sheriff on Walker Texas Ranger. So
Oh, is he really? Oh.
Yeah. And he didn't, like most of these good actors who are in bad shit like that on the CW, like, you know, Riverdale or what have you, you know, it was one of those scenarios where it's like, just walk on, walk off, get paid. Yeah. But
That's a shame.
I think those who are watching NBC will always remember him from Third Watch and definitely remember him from Third Burn Notice, if not that. So, let me see, what else has he done? He has done a shit ton of stuff.
Oh, he has, because I've noticed him.
It's interesting just seeing a mixed actor like him just kind of just really just sink in, and it wasn't about his race, it wasn't about his look, it was just about, you know what, he can do any kind of surprise.
Let's see.
All right. So other than that, oh, he was on The Gifted, also by Matt Nix. So there you go.
That's what I was thinking. That guy.
He's 3 episodes of Archer. Jesus, the minor character. I did see the episode of Lucifer. Oh, that's right. He was on season 3 of SEAL Team, but it wasn't that huge a role. He was more in the background. Mad Dogs, the Amazon Prime heist comedy. So there's a similar show. And he was on the long-running sitcom The Game, which was a spinoff of Girlfriends. I always saw parts of it because it was on BET like 24/7.
Oh, that's what. I think that's why I saw him. He was just there. I'm like, oh, okay.
Usual kind of expected guest appearances, Halo Reach, episodes like Half and Half, and CSI Miami. But most part, yeah, he was sticking to his guns and just, you can say he's got 4 huge shows. Oh, that's right. He was in that stupid Sci-Fi Channel original movie Showdown in Area 51. But hey, I'm sure he doesn't mind it because, you know, that was a Universal production, so I'm sure that's what got him the next gig.
I'm sure. That wouldn't surprise me if it was kind of next gig.
Something. Yeah, I mean, all these actors are just very splendid because they took it for what it was. It wasn't meant, you know, just a fun summer show. And 7 years is good. You know, you got to. And the movie was a fun event. And it's around the same time as some of the other spy comedies, but it was never a rivalry.
I never had like a bit of rivalry with some of those shows.
Totally. And just a competent all-together production. It's just really kind of getting sad when we're seeing all these other shows is like This Is Us and then little things we keep talking about. It keeps having their, like, people want there to be a rivalry and yet the curators are cool with each other. So it's just like,
I don't get that at all.
Why do you? It's not a reality show. You guys, you can go back to your reality show. You can root for someone to call so and so, you know, shitty thing. But it's not what this is about.
No, it's not. But
Not a contest, not a competition.
people don't care. That's what they want.
I mean, it's fun to joke around and do amusing stuff. Like, I always try and make sure I have a badass gift to give to someone to show that I care.
Mm-hmm.
Brother will give me hell for it and be like, hey, you know, it's not a contest. And so, yeah, I don't consider it a contest, but at the same time, I'll just joke back and like, oh, yes, it is. Yeah, no, this show, it didn't really play it safe. It didn't have any real one-liners, but it didn't need it. It just needed, it's like, here's a fun adventure each week. And I'm sure that someone like H&I might, Heroes and Icons cable channel might air
I think
it.
that's who reruns it. Yeah, I think it's them.
Oh, I haven't
Now I
seen
think
it
about it.
yet, but maybe they did it at some point. I don't know. Maybe they should.
I think they have, if I remember correctly. Last time I checked. Which it
Yeah.
deserves it, like we said before.
Oh, totally. And definitely every other show that came after, like In Plain Sight, I don't think any of those would exist without this one.
That's true. Because they were still doing the original programming that wasn't other crap, I call it.
Yeah, before they got back into just, now USA is kind of just a shadow of itself. I've enjoyed some of their event stuff that was based on some of their franchises. Like The Purge was a disappointing one, but it was cool to know that they were keeping that franchise alive in some way. And the Born Identity spinoff Treadstone was neat, and everyone, including me, was like, "Why did you cancel this?" And at least you wrapped it up. But fuck. Yeah, the rest of it, I can't say I've watched any of it. It's just been reality shows and reruns of their other NBC shows, so I haven't been tempted to really watch anything on there lately.
Same
If
here.
there's some if there's a miniseries that they can hype up, that they air side by side on Sci-Fi Channel, then I'll know that they're serious. But yeah, I think they're just going to keep just syndicating stuff and just trying out far lazier summer shows instead of just something that is ballsy.
Something that's creative, or I don't know.
Because many people,
original folks.
Well, that, and people kind of remember from when they kind of embraced trashiness when they did USA Up All Night and
Oh yeah,
just reran Wings and other sitcoms they owned nonstop, and then they kind of just stopped that, and so it's like I really don't know what their identity is anymore. I know all the other cable channels like TNT and Spike TV, which is now Paramount, are now ballsy. They'll gladly let every show they have just, you know, have as much language, sex, and violence as they can.
mm-hmm.
Some of them have been good, and some of them it's been just disappointing, but it seems like they're getting stronger. So I really don't know who's going to change the game, because for a while it seemed like USA was just trying to outdo TBS and how goofy they could be.
That's very true.
And they embrace comedy, and so now I don't know what they got except playing Law and Order SVU marathons.
That's all they got. That's a sad point.
That is sad. It's like, that's a good show, but I don't want to watch that every day.
Every time, guys. Come on.
Oh, and sometimes my sister would want to just do random marathons. It's like, I don't want them to pick an episode with commercials. I wanted. Plus, that's a complicated storyline. They're playing it out of order. Shit.
That's what I hate when they play it on order. Like, no, play it back to back. What is wrong with you?
Yeah. And if you're playing Chicago PD, can you have it line up with have that wrapped up on the other one? Because then it's just anticlimactic. Yeah, hopefully they find something else besides shitty reality shows, because I know what's best for Chris Lee, not being on the air.
I'm so glad you said that. Oh, my parents. Well,
They
my
did a
mom,
few
my
other
mom
fun-
watches that sometimes. I don't get it,
Oh, dear.
but
Yeah, there was even a country singers competition show, and I was like, oh, Shania Twain needs money that bad? Okay.
I guess so at this point.
I thought everyone stopped watching American Idol, but I was wrong when they apparently resurrected it on a different channel, and I was like, jeez.
Oh yeah, that was a few years ago when they resurrected that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh.
And I really don't know why people tune in. It's like they just love to be angry at shit. It's like, it doesn't matter. You can't change anything. You're just wasting your life.
I was kind of like that too with that show, but I learned my lesson from that. So I learned my lesson. Just saying, folks.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Oh, boy. So here's hoping that movie gets made, and thank you for joining us for this special episode.
I'm always glad to be here. Hopefully, they get the right director for that. Hopefully.
Yeah, and hopefully they get a funny script. Matt Nix is at least a consultant and actually overseeing it, as opposed to, make it even just be on a TV budget. And it's like you don't have to, spend too much on it except explosions to sell the trailer.
Oh yeah. That's all you really need for that.
Mm-hmm. Bruce Campbell, if he wants a certain cut, could just film his scenes in one day.
And for once, I won't get mad about that. As long as he's in it, I'm fine.
As long as he says something funny, and he's just a generally funny dude, just like any of these other Highlander or Star Trek people. So, I mean, they know the business. They're not someone who's, had just eons of plastic surgery or just better days ahead of them.
That's very true, especially with some of them.
It's not Chevy Chase, guys. I think it can work.
I think he's retired now, so we're good.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new podcast cure-all, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We might talk about video games,
Music.
Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller
Yes.
of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers,
Yes.
the Google Play,
Yes.
Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We
Ah.
gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair to say
Ah.
all that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Yeah. don't run the listeners away, PJ.
I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
could
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-liner plot holes and gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy. At eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zamenhof. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zamenhof, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zamenhof, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zamenhof.
Hi everybody, it's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything. Pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The two lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VDClinicPod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VDClinicPod. Or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
Hi there. It's Heather from the Watching Netflix Without You podcast. Did you know that there are over 1,200 Netflix original feature films and documentaries? And that number is only growing. So I've made it my mission to watch as many as I possibly can. Then, with a delightful guest or guests, disclaimer, more often than not my brother Ryan, we spend an episode rating, reviewing, and discussing a film at length. The first half of every episode is spoiler-free for those who haven't seen it yet, and in the second half, after a very clear spoiler warning, we dive into it. And that's really about it. You can listen to Watching Netflix Without You on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more.
We now continue with our program.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up